So today we're acknowledging 16 years of Mediation Station being on air. And just to note, I have the original show, and Brian will be really interested to know this. The original show was February 13th, 2005. And in attendance physically, because I have the original audio on cassette, and I've actually just yesterday I transferred it into for MP3 format, and then I'm just going to edit it tomorrow. And I listened to it, and in attendance was Brian, was me, another person from the organization Conflict Mediation Services of Downsview, where it was originally based, Paul Packiam, and then a fourth person, and that was Connie Ianello, who was a Master of Social Work student who was doing a placement with me at CMSD. So a little tidbit of information about that.
Going way back.
How old were you then?
Much younger than I am now. I'll leave it at that.
All right. You know, we'll try. Maybe we'll have a guessing game. You know, the motif for tonight was glasses and bookcases. As you see with the elf, Joni, me, and Laura, we fulfilled that. We have bookcases and glasses on.
I missed that memo. What's going on? You said you were going to keep me up to date, man, and you just throw that at me at the last minute.
Well, I always like to do curveballs.
Apparently. Well, I've whiffed on this one. I'm 0 for 2.
Look at Jenny. Jenny's there too. She's got glasses on. Do you want to ask to unmute? Yes, you want to unmute. How about that? You want to say something, Jenny?
Hi, congratulations on the 16th year anniversary of the radio show.
Thank you for acknowledging. Thank you for coming, and thank you for being part of it. And yeah. So I have a little thing to do first. Let's see how I'll do this. Bear with me. Okay. There I am. I'm masked.
There it is.
Why am I doing this?
It's all the rage.
Now, there's a bigger purpose. So I got like 3 articles here. I'm not going to read them all. I'm just going to reference them. Masks mess with our brain's ability to recognize faces, but research suggests there's a silver lining. That's one of them. That's by Kathy Thomas from CBC News on February 11th, 2021. Face masks, why your eyes might be saying more than you realize, from September 6th, 2020. That's from Neuroscience News.
Got that one.
The third one is, in an era of face masks, we're all a little more face blind. That's by Elizabeth Preston, August 31st, 2020. What is it about masks? What's changed about COVID? I'm just using it as a basis, and then we'll broaden out from there. What are you guys looking at now with me?
Your hair.
Or lack of it.
No, to be serious, your eyes.
Okay. Yeah.
But you know, if I could just say, when I was working in the hospital during SARS and we were head to toe with PPE, with the gowns and the masks and the gloves and the whole thing, sometimes with a bonnet on the hair, after a while you could tell who someone was, even though you couldn't see any of those things, by the way they walked, the way they held themselves. You'd be listening for you'd recognize their footsteps, you'd recognize all those things. So I have a feeling that that's the kind of thing we're getting ready to talk about, is how you look for other cues and you express yourself in ways that you didn't before.
Well, somewhat. So the article masks mess with our brain's ability. Typically, when we look at another person's face, our brain works at lightning speed to compute the distances between the individuals features, the nose, eyes, mouth, and other features, all at once to determine who we are looking at. The researchers found a mask disrupts this holistic approach to facial recognition. So because of the mask, you tend to focus now on, obviously, the eyes and the individual features instead of their face as a whole. This gives the brain less information to work with and makes the identification process less efficient. Researchers say that masks may make some people appear more attractive. That's where I'm going with this. Because prominent or asymmetrical features of the lower face are hidden, putting the emphasis on a person's eyes rather than their face. However, new research out of the US may have found a surprising silver lining to masks. They can make us more attractive. Laura and I, going back to the first show we did Zoom 2 weeks ago, we talked about now we can actually see each other when we're doing the program. Because if she wasn't in person physically at the radio, she was calling in. So we, for the benefit of doing the program and the shows, people had to use their imaginations on what the visual was for both me and Laura. And now that, we're wearing all these, what's that person's name again, please?
That's one of the visuals that some may have.
Yeah, we did some photos of those. So there's a joint study between the University of Pennsylvania and Temple University titled Beauty in the Mask. Asked participants to rate the attractiveness of a cross-section of individuals with and without masks. They found about 70% of the reportedly average-looking people were rated as more attractive when wearing a surgical style mask. What's likely happening is that the mask is camouflaging either prominent features or asymmetrical features of the lower face. We're actually seeing those individuals as more attractive because perhaps those less attractive features are now camouflaged by the face covering. US researchers asked participants to rate the attractiveness of a cross-section of individuals with it and without masks using photos from a face database. Another reason is that the eyes, which are less visible, are key markers of facial attractiveness. It's something that we're taught at a very young age as children. We're taught when we're talking to somebody to look them right in the eyes. So we're probably seeing part of the socialization of that, as well as some ingrained biology that's leading us to be attracted to people's eyes. It's not as simple as that because, culturally, some cultures don't like to look in the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see here. There's from the article, in an era of face masks, there's a paucity of research directly addressing the question, but earlier studies have hinted at cultural differences in how people read emotions. Western Caucasian people tend to decode facial expressions based on the mouth region, while Eastern Asian tend to use the information from the eye region. So there's a good chance that when you leave the house today, you wore a mask, you'll wear a mask tomorrow. That's part of our mantra to keep ourselves safe, one of the things. And so it does affect, but what of the eyes that remain uncovered? Shakespeare said the eyes were the windows to the soul. I'm not sure about souls, but it's very clear that eyes can provide a great deal of information. Just a note, it's why poker players sometimes wear dark glasses because of a fear of giving away a tell.
Mm-hmm.
A tiny, almost imperceptible cue to other players that they are holding a good hand or bluffing. So, I'm here tonight to be more attractive to you. No, that's all I get, just a little laughter.
So far, so good.
Well done. I can barely hold myself back now.
I'm glad you're sitting down. Jenny, did you have anything? I see some energy that's percolating. You want to erupt or something, like a volcano.
No, just wanted to say you look very lovely this evening.
Thank you.
So
We'll go.
we can't see your face.
There we go.
There.
I'm exposing myself.
Much better.
Yeah. Laura, what do you want to say?
I'm not sure
Anything.
about the study. I'm not sure about the study. I would not qualify actually many lower facial. I would have a hard time qualifying something as attractive or unattractive on a person's face. I don't see unattractiveness. I don't know how to label that, and I don't know what the criteria is. But I don't like it. I don't like it. It doesn't sit well with me to qualify, a particular face or symmetry as attractive versus not attractive, because I don't believe in it. I think people are attractive in their own way, and in fact, people are attractive more when you start to know them, and so the facial features really don't matter that much anymore.
I will say that maybe that's to your conscious level. Our subconscious level, our subliminal level, maybe really does gravitate towards certain types of things that we're inclined, that we've created as a perception of, quote, attractiveness with others. When you're on Zoom, or any of you, I know Laura, you do a lot, and Joni, you do a lot of Zoom stuff, and probably you too, Jenny. Does it make a difference that you're consciously aware of how you're connecting with someone or not through how you can see them?
Yes.
And if they were wearing masks, that might be perceived differently and processed differently?
Oh yeah. Like, we're always talking about, loving someone's smile or their dimples, or, even if there's a big, huge nose, there's things associated with that. Teeth are big, or small, or spaced, or, like there are all kinds of things. Skin, whether you have acne or a big mole with a couple of hairs sticking out of it. If you cover all that up with a mask and you just see those lovely eyes, then yeah. But
what does that do for you?
Well, but I'm thinking my eyelids have been falling down for the last 10 years, and asymmetrically too. So this eyelid is like practically at my pupil at the moment. So I'm not thinking my eyes are that attractive these days.
Well, it's sort of like the comment, the more you have to present, the more probability there is for something to inject itself as potential negativity, let's just say. The more information somebody has to sort of, attach, we all attach meaning onto things that we look at and we process and try to make sense of. And then the more information you have, there's a high probability that you're going to find some kind of negativity with that. So the idea with the mask too, and doing it, would anybody do it Zoom with a mask? I don't think so.
Not unless
No,
they're in a room with other people where they had to wear masks because there were other people around. But I'm just thinking too about the signals that your face gives. I'm reading a lot about polyvagal theory and trauma and stuff. And when you're in fear, as we tend to be during the pandemic, we look for social connection. And a lot of that social connection has to do with facial signs that someone is connecting with you and you're not alone, and that there's a calming kind of thing that happens. And they're like a zillion different signs that the muscles of your face make and everything that show that you're connecting with someone. And so, I mean, if all you have is the eyes and the eyebrows are very expressive as well, right? So if all you have is that wrinkle in your forehead, whether are you paying attention, then those are going to take on more meaning, I think.
Jenny, you wanted to say something too, I think.
Oh, well, I was just going to say at work when we are using the social connection platforms, we make sure that our employees are showing their faces during our meetings, because some people feel uncomfortable with showing their faces on social
Platforms, yeah.
platforms.
Yeah.
So one of our rules is that if you're talking to a manager, you need to show yourself.
Yeah.
Because we want to make sure that those people are participating in our meetings and connecting. So how do you do that, right? And so what we're doing is watching their facial features in order to connect with them and making sure that they're engaging with us. So wearing a mask would be counterproductive because we're looking at their facial features in order for us to get those non-physical, the physical cues. So that's something that I wanted to share. It's very, very important to be looking at somebody in the face and looking at those special muscles that are making us smile or frown, how we're connecting, whether we're squinting or not squinting, whether we have the little mark there as we're paying attention. Those things are all very important when you're trying to connect and engage workforce.
Mr. B?
Yes. I find being in a public forum on a daily basis, there's been a tremendous difference. People are almost, they're not being forced to, but I mean, working the door at a retail location. So been throughout this entire pandemic, still, I'm essential. It's been interesting in that the tremendous number of people who now look you in the eye willingly because they need that connection, even if it's just for a moment as they're coming in or leaving. There's much more of that, and throughout the store you're seeing that now. There's that eye contact. You could get away with it before because you could cheat. You could look as far as someone's nose, and if you're far enough away, it looks like you're looking them in the eye. Not anymore. With this, now suddenly you have to make that eye contact if you want to be engaged with someone and to get that back. So it's been, I've seen it as a in a strange way, it's more positive. It's positive in that people have been sort of persuaded, shall we say, to be more, to communicate better just using the eyes. It also helps that most people who wear masks, we're all practicing our how to enunciate with a mask on, which is very difficult for many people. So part of that ends up being that initial eye contact as a way of saying, I'm going to talk to you so that you can pay better attention to me. So it's the two follow up quite nicely one to another.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we're feeding off other people's energy when we can project some kind of perceived manner of response with someone else, and then they can feed off that energy and flow with it. I was at the grocery store today and picking out something, and I was waiting in line for the next person after the person was currently being served, and I saw what I understood a facial recognition, even though she was wearing a mask, that she was displeased with the other person. And when they left, I just said, hey, I made some kind of comment, and I said, I'm smiling. And she said, thank you. Thank you for letting me know. I needed that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had more than a few comments like that as well, where people keep smiling, Brian. They sense it. And interestingly enough, if you smile, if you're serious enough about your smile, it reaches your eyes. So now that people are paying more attention to that part, everything, they're looking for that. They're looking for as Jody was saying, they're looking for more of the eyebrows rising. They're looking for that. And the smile can get that far, get to your eyes if you're willing to make the effort. And it does make a difference.
Well, Tyra Banks calls it smizing, right? anybody who had the guilty pleasure, as I did, of watching America's Next Top Model, he would talk about smiling with your eyes.
Yes.
Are you smizing or are you not? You can be like Melania Trump and smile with your face, but not with your eyes. You know what I mean? So when it's a genuine smile, and then you're smiling with your eyes, and you don't even need to see the mouth area.
I just want to put it out there for anybody who's, in the bleacher seats. If you want to contribute to the conversation, you're welcome to do so. This is not just a closed conversation. It's an open, inclusive conversation. And if there's something you want to ask or comment on, you can use the chat box, or you can do the raise your hand. Because, if you try to use your eyes because your cameras are off, I'm sorry, we just can't acknowledge you. We won't know. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to talk about the big failure of platforms like Zoom is that you can't make eye contact. It's absolutely impossible to make eye contact. And when you're in a profession where eye contact is so very important, like counseling or mediation or anything where you really need to communicate with someone with your eyes, you can't make eye contact, because if you're looking at the person's eyes on the screen, they see you as looking down. So if you look at the camera, the little dot, to look in their eyes, you can't see their eyes. All you can see is the dot, the camera lens. So it's impossible to make actual eye contact. And as someone who's been a social worker for so many years, it just really, it disrupts me so much.
Do you work your way through it to see that there's more? Because you're what I'm understanding is you're working on the nonverbal cues. Like, people don't have to say something, and you're still reading their eyes to get some kind of reaction or response.
Well, I prefer to do, if I can't do counseling in person, I prefer to do it on the phone, because that way you're not expecting your eye contact to do what it does. You're leaving that out entirely. But when you're kind of think you might make eye contact because your eyeballs are there and my eyeballs are here, and I don't know, I find it really messes me up. I mean, it's better than nothing, but I find it, if someone can create a platform where you can make actual eye contact, I'm going to buy it. No matter.
So let me ask you, Zoni, I'm only working with you because you just spoke. Where do you see my eyes right now? Because I'm looking right into your eyes on the image that I see. So in relation to you, I'm looking down.
So look into the camera.
Yeah.
You're looking in my eyes.
Yeah, it's just, the feature of the camera is not quite the same feature as your actual features.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll create like photographs of each other, and then we can put them over the camera when we're speaking to that person. I'm just saying.
It may just be a matter of getting used to it and our brains finding new pathways to express what we used to express by direct eye contact. I don't know.
Or it's raising to the more conscious level for self-awareness how we actually have been engaging, interacting, and functioning, which may not have been always the best way, per se, to try to create connections and build relationships amongst people. And now we're more mindful of this disruption from our normalcy before the Zoom world. And now we have to sort of try to adapt ourselves. How am I going to really be? And then you will adapt during COVID, and then what's going to happen? COVID's going to go away unless, well, it's going to be reformatted. We'll come to a new norm, and then we're going to adapt again to being in person. Anybody feel that they're going to have some kind of struggle with all that?
Oh, I can't wait. Honestly,
Me too.
I just want people, you know,
Yeah, me too.
want to hug somebody. My cats run away from me. It's,
And your daughter too?
yeah.
You've hugged her out?
Well, actually, even though she's what she considers to be an introvert, she's needing that contact and that that hugging and warmth and connection too. And I think that's what's been happening too. People have kind of been using computers to kind of hide from the world if they're a little more introverted and they get overwhelmed more easily. And now with the pandemic, we're seeing how actual social connection in person and being able to touch each other and hug each other and just communicate with a touch too, how important it really is, and that we can't just be apart from each other all the time. It's a lesson, I think, that's come with a lot of difficulty, but it's here. Oh, someone's using the chat.
Lynn, you there?
Okay, going back a few things. Going back to what Brian was saying about putting a smile in your eyes, I also think you can put a smile in your voice. So
Yes.
that's something to think about. It's funny because when I was working for a women's volunteer organization, we had to do solicitations. The person who was training us, the first thing that we were told was put a smile in your voice. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I'm sure all of us have received a phone call when they're middle of the gripping point of a TV show, and we have to put it on mute. And we're trying to listen to the phone conversation and be polite while also keeping up to date with what's going on the television. Now, those actors and actresses until the last couple of weeks haven't been masked, but you can very easily tell by the body language what's going on. And I do think to a certain extent that that is the same thing with these Zoom mediations. I think we can pick up a lot. Unfortunately, it's not the whole body, it's just the upper, the head and whatever. The other thing is, if you think about having ever seen a foreign film that has subtitles, has everybody had that experience?
Mm-hmm.
You're so busy looking at the subtitles, and what are you missing?
All the action.
Body language.
So I think that with all this going on, and I hear Joni and I hear everybody else's frustration with having to do everything by Zoom, but so far I have not found it as antisocial as I really did think it would be. I'm quite pleasantly surprised. Mind you, there's only one case where somebody was in an office and they were the group was masked, and that was more of a challenge for sure. But I don't think on Zoom, or I think on Zoom most people are not masked. I don't know whether that's right or wrong, but just a few comments about smiling with your voice and watching for cues.
True. This is very true.
Well, that part of the cue thing was too about, I can't find my glasses. I need my glasses to find my glasses.
Been there,
Yes.
done that.
Laura was, in the first week, Laura was mentioning how I kept going down.
Oh, because of the bifocals or something?
Yeah, the transitionals. And she thought I was praying to her. I don't know. She feels whatever, that's the way I'm honoring you, Laura. It's just that I'm trying to find a way to be clearer to view. Though if I didn't clarify that, you'd be seeing my motions and then filling in the blanks on your own. What's with that guy? He's got a, is it a special time of the day? He's got to say his mantra.
Well, I would like to say happy 16th anniversary to Mediation Station. I didn't have my video on before because I was eating my Valentine's cookie graham that I received, and I didn't want to come on with red hearts falling out of my
chocolate drooling down the sides of your lips or something.
Happy Valentine's Day and happy 16th anniversary. It's quite wonderful what you've been doing, Blake, really, with the team behind you.
And I was mentioning earlier, I don't know if you were on at that time, I listened to the original show, and I'm going to edit it and put it on probably tomorrow for public consumption. It's with Brian, with me, and Paul Packiam, if you might remember Lynn. Lynn used to be a volunteer at the organization with me, and Brian was one of the staff members, and then he was a volunteer with me. And Connie Ianello, who I actually reconnected with at 311 Jarvis. She's been a social worker for Children's Aid, Catholic Children's Aid, for quite a number of years, and that's where she started doing her master's with me. And the first two shows didn't have a title, and then I put it out to all the volunteers in the community program, and it was like a competition. And I said, okay, the winning will get a prize. So on the third show, which is in April, so I intend to do the second show and the third show, and I'll put those out for people to listen. That's when we had the big announcement, and we went formally with Mediation Station. And Lynn was the winning person to identify Mediation Station, which is like a play on words. Mediation Station, radio station, etc. I just stuck with that because I just think it was ideal with regard to everything. So I really appreciate, the people that are part of this, for you to be here. Laura's been with me for a number of years. Jenny's been she was originally also a York graduate years ago. She came and did an internship with my program at CMSD, and then she stayed as a volunteer mediator. And then Brian, as I said, was with the program, and Lynn, and Brian's been with me off and on different ways, a co-host, and now he's gravitated to have his own program at CHHA 1610 AM, Mr. B's Bounce, Friday nights at 8 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Don't you wish you would do that in person? Come on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know.
I miss the studio, no question about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to add that I think I remember Brian from CMSD. I think we did a couple of mediations together, didn't we?
Yes, I was a volunteer mediator in the last few days, and it was a wonderful experience. It's one thing to, at the time I was fundraising for CMSD, and it's one thing to try and seek funds for the organization, but then to actually get to the root of it and the difference that we made in the community, that was excellent. It was a fantastic experience.
It was.
Yeah, Brian was staff member. He was the coordinator for resource development. I believe that was the official titles, close enough.
Yep.
And when he transitioned from that role, he became a volunteer within the program and doing some mediations. And yeah, you and Lynn were on a case at least once,
Yes.
maybe twice. I'm not sure. Can't remember all that stuff. That's a long time ago. That was many hairs ago. And Jenny,
Yeah.
what do you want to say? Put you on the spot. Oh,
Put me on the spot. Thanks so much.
I appreciate it. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, just to think of the growth and development of all of us as we've moved along in life the last 16 years and all the things that we've done. It's pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, there's another person who was part of the co-hosting earlier on too, Paulina Geller. I don't know if Brian and Jenny might know, and maybe Lynn will know. She was in the program, and she came on a number of times to co-host with me, a couple times a month, and for a period of time. And then in 2008, April, we went to Cuba together, and we did a training in Havana for a community-based agency, and that was great.
Am I right in saying that her daughter was also one of the high school students that we trained?
Yep. Yeah.
I did a mediation with her that was, she was beyond wonderful. I will never forget it. I use it as an example all the time. I'm trying to remember her daughter's name. The daughter's a lawyer now.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, two of her daughters became involved, got the training, and became volunteers with the program. And then more importantly, the one that you're talking about, who is a lawyer now, practicing, I don't know if arbitration stuff too, intellectual property, I'm not sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He was, I think, 16 or 17. It was so insightful. And it was, I don't know if the rest of the people listening know what Conflict Mediation Services of Downsview did. We trained high school students to be peer mediators. So when there was like a parent-teen dispute, and I had one that came out of court where a mother had assaulted the daughter who'd assaulted the mother, vice versa, whatever. And so because the daughter was a high school student, I was paired as a co-mediator with this young girl. And it was my first mediation about 3 months after my husband had passed away. And the mother at the party, one of the ones from the police, said, my daughter's she's just horrible. She's so ridiculous. She has no consideration for anyone. She comes home from work. She goes to school during the day, comes home from work and starts to wash and dry her hair with the hair blower in the bathroom, which is adjacent to our room. My husband has to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and she looked straight at me and said, how would your husband feel if his sleep was disturbed by a daughter who was blowing her hair and showering and everything at 10 o'clock at night? And I started kind of well up. I had just lost my husband. And this young teenager knew what was going on in my life and said, I think we need to just take a little bit of a break. And she separated the two parties and she took me outside and I had my good cry and then we went back in and she just knew like that. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, her name is Karina.
Karina, right.
Karina Geller, yeah. I mean, we practice co-mediation and the intention was to have a more experienced mediator with a newer person and or other options like with parent youth mediation, which you're talking about. One was to have an adult represented at the table as part of the process, and one is the youth, so that it would be a higher probability that the youth would decide and feel more comfortable to engage in the process, knowing that there was somebody that they feel could understand or recognize their lived experiences. So having an adult and a youth mediator, that was fundamental to, and that's a major benefit of having a co-mediation model too. You can adapt the process depending on the parties. Laura, you do that all the time too with Eva.
Yes, yes. So we only use exclusively co-mediation in the family matters. I find it extreme. I would never go back to single sole mediation. I won't. There's so much richness and there's so much more exchange that we can have and learning, and I wouldn't be able to go back to a sole mediator.
Yeah.
And we do with Marty as well, right? So I think there is more who are warming up to the idea of co-mediating in the family experiences, divorcing and separation.
And that's one thing I'll say about community mediation. It's much more progressive, much more advanced for its practices and its process from many years ago that it was doing, that now these concepts and approaches are becoming a little more normalized. And we were doing this years ago with the approaches to working with people and how to engage people. Yeah. Shaking head.
It's not only that some of the things that we were doing all those years ago being brought forward, just the fact that mediation itself is so much better known. I mean, when people used to say to me, you know, oh, you're taking this training, what are you doing? And I'd say mediation, they'd go, you know, and I'd go,
You're on your flying carpet.
No.
Yeah.
Not meditation, mediation.
Only one letter
so
difference.
True. So true.
Yeah. Anybody else in the crowd want to?
Well, I'm just the youngin' here. I've only been around since 2015 when I crawled in that window of the radio station and during Hanukkah and refused to leave afterwards. But all joking aside, I know you guys have such a long history with one another, and I'm kind of the new kid on the block, but I just have to say that this show and the people I've met from being involved with it, I mean, several of them right here in this Zoom room, who have changed my life for the better, like really made a huge impact on me. And of course, Yodela is at the top of that list. But yeah, just the richness of this show, when we don't even know how big our audience is. I find that incredible. Like, we don't know how many people are listening.
You mean through the radio format?
Through the radio. We have no idea. Because people ask, how many listeners do you have? We have no idea. There could be 10, there could be 1 million, we don't know. So there's kind of a freedom in that, so that we really talk about what's really true for us and what's really on our minds and what's really important. And I just want to say that there were times when I was so depressed and lost, and just coming to the station on a Sunday kept me going. So I just want to thank you. I'm not going to sing, don't worry.
Well, you know, it's all about, for me, it's all about relationships and creating those bonds, connections, building upon. I just want to acknowledge somebody else too, who's in the crowd, Julie. And I believe that's Julie M. And Julie also is a York graduate from like 2010. And she came on the program in 2010 3 times after she finished her certificate work. And then she drifted off. I drifted, whatever. And then, as I mentioned last fall, I was on, what was I? Somehow, I was thinking about her in some way. And then the next day, out of the blue, from her own, she sends me a LinkedIn connection request. And then she's been on last year, and now she's scheduled to come back again. So it's, you know, about forging a connection, and then what do you do with that? And you try and build upon it if that's what you value. And I think, you know, that's one of the essences of the program. It's not about here today, gone tomorrow. For me, it's a passion, because it's all connected to my inner perspectives of things. And I won't speak for you, Brian. I think, you know, you really connect with doing this kind of stuff too, because it connects with your passion.
Yes.
And that's part of how we really connect as people together with each other. Likewise with Jenny, we've been together. You came over to do the internship from York University. I think it was in 2002 or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Laura is a graduate of the York program. And I don't know, do you remember what year that was?
Maybe 2010.
Yeah, approximately.
Yeah, 2010, 2009, late. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
About that.
Yeah, and then your sidekick, your co-mediator, Eva, was a graduate too of the program just after that.
And in fact, I met Eva on this program. And Joni, and just to echo what Joni had said, that they did change my life, and they are changing my life, both of them continuously. And you too, Greg, you too. But
it's okay. I have some Kleenex nearby. And then I see Christiana. She's a loyal listener, now viewer each week. You want to say anything, Christiana? It's up to you. You got the power. You can raise your hand or ask to unmute. Let's see. No, okay. And then there's some phone numbers. Christiana opened up her mic. Okay.
Greg, hi, Joni. Hi, everyone. Just listening here.
Anything you want to say?
No, I'm listening tonight. I'm listening.
Okay, that's cool. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Then there's a couple of phone numbers. I don't know who they are because I'd have to do a search, and I'm not going to do the search. It's too random. And then I also want to acknowledge a good person out there too, who's in the bleacher seats, Heather L. Heather L, you want to open your mic and say anything? Heather's got a great initiative. There you go. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, am I? Can you
Yeah,
hear
your
me?
mic's open now.
Okay, so I just want to say hello to and congratulations to you. And I think that everybody here is so amazing and wonderful and warm and yeah. I'm kind of running out of things to say. I'm really kind of not very good when I'm put on the spot. But Greg, yes, you've done so much, and you've done so much for everyone. You've done so much for me, and I just kind of want to take this opportunity to say thank you to you. I don't know if I'm still on because it's very quiet, so I don't know if can you still hear me?
We're trying to look in your eyes. Don't notice your eyes. So I can't tell if you're, no, we're joking. You're on. Now you're closed.
Are you smizing?
We can't hear her because her mic's off. Yeah. So what's next? Well, I can say a little bit. Next week we have
So you tell us.
Marianne Popescu, who's coming on from Ontario Association for Family Mediation, and we'll have a provocative conversation there. And then the week after that, we have somebody that Joni knows, Elfie, Robert Basunder, and he's coming on to talk about another topic area that I think we'll find provocative. Joni and Robert were together in November, and it was really, Robert was there, if I can say, in a supportive manner, was focused on Joni. Joni had a recent, in the fall, family mediation of her own as a party participant. Yeah, I see the hand motion.
You just blew my cover.
Well, I didn't say who the other party was.
We used pseudonyms.
Like anybody doesn't, well, I haven't edited that show yet, so nobody knows.
But my voice is so, it's not a distinguishable voice. It's not
It's unique, isn't it?
recognize it.
Well, Joni wants to come back and continue the conversation. Right?
I will
Yeah.
if I need to. I gotta say, it's really traumatic when you've had a bad mediation and when it just stirs up all the feelings of betrayal and
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm not looking to put you in a situation that you're not comfortable with.
No, I want to get the word out there because I want people to be aware when they're looking for a mediator that there's mediators and there's mediators, and sometimes you can get railroaded into doing a process that is called mediation and is identified as mediation out there, but
It's not.
not.
No.
It's not, and it's really damaging. It can be really damaging.
Yes.
So it is important to get it out there, and so I'll take a couple of Ativan and I'll do it.
Just like any process that tries to work with people to try to facilitate some kind of positive change, decision making. There are the positive experiences because of the people involved who who have the responsibility for facilitating that process, and there are others who have less accountability or take that, or they see their accountability through a different lens.
Yeah, they think they're doing mediation. And it's like, yeah, no.
Well, I'll give them the latitude for sure that it is mediation. It's their version of it. It may not be in alignment with yours and what you value and what you like, ideally. And who's to say we're right and they're wrong?
No,
Yeah, okay.
boy.
What else? Anybody want to say?
There is a comment. I'm just gonna read quickly some of the.
Sure, go ahead.
There were a couple of comments prior, and I actually did chat back that. So iPhone, someone over the iPhone said that many of us will still do work online after COVID is over in conjunction to face-to-face. And I agreed with that comment because in fact, we have found that some mediations that we conducted online through Zoom, although it's not my favorite medium, but it has facilitated some extra additional access for some who really could not be leaving their homes or even their neighborhoods. We actually ended up doing a couple of mediations in Ottawa. And we're in, Durham region, so it has sort of expanded and also allowed for extra access for lots of people to feel some needed for safety, to be in completely separate rooms and spaces and neighborhoods. I did put yes.
Elaine, yeah, for sure.
The other thing that's happening, parties and lawyers particularly are realizing the significant delay in court proceedings. And so they're looking to mediation now, whereas they may not have been quite that anxious before, when you know that it's going to take 3 years instead of 16 to 18 months. You become very much more enthusiastic about resolving through mediation. And I've seen quite a change in that, in the attitudes and in the applications for mediation.
Yeah, and you work a lot with the civil mediation process, the civil court stuff.
And they just got up and running. They were closed for a long time, and you should see what's going on now. It's interesting.
Yeah, and Heather, who also made a comment in there too. Heather's history too was as a civil litigant on a matter that took her, I think it's like 10 years, and the outcome was just so draining and cost ineffective in terms of monetary value, and its cost emotionally on her own life. And she took the responsibility to become a lawyer, and then she's transitioned to create this whole entity about self-represented litigants having more access to, I'll use her terms, access to justice, and find ways to connect people with the resources to help them better their opportunities to realize the outcomes they really want and need. And I want to acknowledge a couple other people who are friends. There's Stephanie and there's Kathy Ann, who are in the bleacher seats as well. So we're going to very soon close out. Anything people want to say in sort of transitioning off till see you soon? Any thoughts with regard to future ideas? That
Here's to another 16 years.
Yes, l'chaim.
Cheers.
L'chaim.
this is, it's a passion at the same time. Brian knows it's a responsibility too.
Yes.
It's a job,
Yes, it
because you have to be organized with some kind of structure, with a system, that if you want to facilitate this to happen, you have to take responsibility for creating this, the content. That means topic areas, and then if there's people you want as part of the conversation, you have to organize to get people commit to that, and that can be a lot of challenge.
Yes.
Yeah.
There might be some good things about the the need to use Zoom or to have this kind of platform for the radio show, because before when you had someone calling in, you couldn't have callers calling in because you only had the one phone line. So this is in a way expanding the radio show and the access to it. And, you know, poor Brian having to drive from, you know, Yountville, Ontario, wherever he is at the moment, and sometimes not making it in time, you know, and just there are pluses, there are gifts from the pandemic.
Yes.
Well, Brian, you know, he's organized now a system where he pre-records, sends it to the station, because it
Yes.
just isn't feasible for him to keep driving in. There's unpredictability with other things in his life at that time, with employment, for example, right? So this is a way he can get commitment with the station and himself to facilitate what he wants to get his voice and his ideas out there.
I am grateful that Luis and Linda at CHHA have allowed me to be adaptable and still be able to present something to, again, as pointed out, however many listeners we may have. So it's been an excellent experience for me in that regards. Definitely miss the studio. And I know Greg can speak to this as well. There's something to be said for being live and having guests in and just having that rapport back and forth with someone.
Yeah, I love being in the moment, being fluid and live, because that's just, if you know, for me to feed off that energy and then be able to respond in a manner that's supportive and hopefully and build upon the conversation with the improvisational, you know, the concept of improvisation.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you mentioned, Joni, about wanting to do this with a visual. It's been a desire of mine to want to stream it too. I just don't have the technical skills or the capacity to do that. So if there is somebody who has some idea at some point to support at least my perspective of how do I stream it at the radio station, I'm welcoming of that information. And so I can, you know, it's about broadening then the reach and the opportunity, because not everybody will listen on the radio for sure live. Not everybody comes on the Zoom. And so that's why also recording this and then afterwards uploading it to different platforms. The audio is another way for people to access it on their own. And then now with Loris and her better half support of editing the video. Yeah, that's the one. So I was just in receipt of last week's show with the video, which I haven't yet looked at, and I'm going to upload that to YouTube probably tomorrow. And people get a visual of 2 weeks, the show last week, actually. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's another way for people to connect and process the conversation, and they'll get a visual complementary with the audio that they've had in the past. So I just want to say thank you very much for everybody's support and work with this. And as I said, I'm also going to edit the content for the first show from February 13th and post it tomorrow. And then later in the week, hopefully, for the second show from March of 2003. And then the first show where we actually name it in April through Lynn's support, calling it Mediation Station. And Lynn, you know, I believe that you got the gift. I thought, you know, there was a coffee mug. Brian, can you not vouch for me? Were you there on the third show? I forget.
Let me go back to that specific date 16 years ago, Greg. I can't remember. I'm so sorry.
There was a coffee mug that was her winning. It's somewhere on your shelf somewhere. You buried it, Lynn, please. I would never disrespect you that way. Okay, so if there's nothing much more to say for tonight, we can, you know, say see you soon.
Here's to another 16.
Here's to another 16.
That's
Yes.
right. Here's to another 16.
And it's apropos that it's on Valentine's Day, a day of love. Appreciate it.
Yes.
You know, it was founded on the roots of Valentine's Day on the 13th of 2005. And here today, 16 years later, we're celebrating on Valentine's Day too.
Big hugs to everybody. Wish I could hug you all.
Very good.
And nibbles too.
Laura, is there somebody whose mama, is that connected to you in any way?
That
Just
may be
asking.
connected to me in some way. And
Yeah?
Mama does not like to be put on the spot.
No, I just,
Leave Mama out of this.
are you just trying to be overprotective of mama? Because I really have experience with mama really wanting a voice of her own.
I'm just trying to be overprotective, just like she's been.
Mama's mic is open though. Mama could say something without her visual.
No,
Mama, no? Okay. All right. Nice to see. Where's Mama calling from? Or
Romania.
Romania. Yeah.
So it's quite an early morning there.
How many hours?
7 hours difference ahead.
Which is like 9:08 here, which is 3, like 4. Well, she got up early unless she's normally gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Not normally.
Thank you, Mama, for taking this. Appreciate it.
I love it.
Happy
Any-
anniversary, happy Valentine's Day, and happy Family Day, everybody.
Yes. You too.
Thank you. To you as well.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And I encourage you to check in next week. I always try to have a little provocative conversation. I'm not into the traditional kinds of messaging. And it's about shaking it up, and it's about roots with community mediation, about social change. And so spread the words, and who knows when we'll be able to return physically in person at the station. Nevertheless, I think for me, this has created another dimension for me to see how can I incorporate the audio aspect with the video aspect. And again, Lynn?
A question, is it always the same Zoom sign-in thing, or do you send one every week? Because I missed last week's, I don't know what happened.
Laura?
One every week. It's a different one every week.
So it's an email that we'll get the Zoom, or is it the same 848 number every week?
It is. So I always, like, Laura, what the process is in the backstory, Laura schedules it, sends it to me, and then I put that into a post on Facebook in the Mediation Station group, and also the page, and then I put it on my LinkedIn page,
Okay.
and then I tweet it out too. So I try to.
And I'm not on any of those things. I guess that's why I was missing it. That's why I went to you tonight to see what the LinkedIn was, the thing was.
So for sure, you know,
My circuits are overloaded just with Skype and Zoom and FaceTime and whatever. It's like enough already. I can't do anymore.
no, I can take some responsibility to try to, if I know of someone who's not connecting, because I have a couple of other people who don't have the technical skills to do it through the computer and are calling in to do it. And so I can say that, you know, I can cut and paste it or forward it. That's how it is.
I'm comfortable with the computer. I'm just a Luddite when it comes to all that other stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. It wasn't a statement that you didn't have the inclination to do it through the computer. It's just on the social media platforms.
Yeah.
So I can send you the link through.
Get in there eventually. Everybody else is telling me I should. I guess I better.
Well, we can have another show about that. That'll be another conversation. What is your resistance with all that? What's underneath all that?
You want to know the truth?
If you're open with that.
20 nieces and nephews all over the world. And when they sneeze, every one of them has to make sure that all other 19 or 21 or whatever it is know that they just sneezed. And it became so overwhelming that I got off it. And I love my family, and I speak to them on Zoom, and I phone them, and we Skype one-on-one and stuff. But this whole thing with those things, anyway.
And that's why I'll put you on the spot. You know, I've invited you to come on, and so we'll keep massaging that opportunity for you to come on for a conversation too.
Can you just imagine what I would reveal if I were actually given a mic?
This is a non-judgmental space.
We're loosening you up at Jade so that you
Oh,
can.
yeah. Oh,
Okay, thank you very much. I'm gonna be with like the captain. I got to go down with the ship. So you guys sort of go away in a nice way.
thank you, Ron.
And I do keep it as an open door. Come back next week or the week after and whatever.
Happy.
We'll just keep building upon this. Thank you.
Okay, have a good night.